How did the best founders learn from failure? Like what do the best founders do to learn from failure and gain information from it so they can do better next time? Like is there recommendations that you give people? So obviously you guys help people shut down, but let's talk about like the psychological aspect. How do you help people learn from it and then maybe restart and get into something new again?
I think that what you were talking about earlier, the memorandum or the obituary of a founder is like a very, very, very important process that founders, typically go through. And we see a lot of founders on our platform like go through that process. It is, by the way, something very hard to do when you're like in the thick of things and you're like dissolving and shutting down and dealing with all of it, because there's so much emotion involved and there's so much like negative energy and bureaucratic and things that you're going through your head, and like, how do I talk to my investors and how do I share about this publicly? So it's like, it's one of those things that in terms of like what I typically see a lot of the, founders that really analyze their failure in order to become better, it's like they take a month off, or like, they dissolve kind of, or, use simple closure for that. And then they clear their head for a month. And then they sit down and write like a really thoughtful thing of a post or message or memorandum of like what went well, what didn't go well, what would they do different. By the way, I very much resonate, because like, I think if you asked me, in my previous companies, HashSnap or Ernie or any one of those previous companies, you asked me like at the moment of time when we were deciding to shut down, like, why did you fail? I'll give you 100 reasons that are not the real reason of why we failed. And I think it's like, ask me today why we failed for those companies. The answer is materially different from what the answer would have been like the day we were failing. And so I actually think like the best way to learn is to take that period of time to cool off. It could be a week, it could be a month. Everyone, decompresses differently. It could be a year to like decompress and then sit down with yourself. And I think that the honest truth is like, you have the best answer. Like as the founder, as an entrepreneur, the answer is actually in you. It is sometimes a painful answer, because it could be like, I wasn't a good co-founder, or I didn't move fast enough, or I didn't see the writing on the wall, or I was stubborn to go in a certain direction and didn't pivot fast enough, or like, I wasn't so sometimes the reasons are brutal, because it's a lot of self-reflection and a lot of like criticizing yourself. But I actually think that those are the best lessons. And that's what I typically see where like founders get the most out of kind of retroing their period. And again, it's hard to retro years of blood, sweat, and tears into a post or to a bullets, but I think it's a really important exercise.
Why Ernie failed right when it happened, when you had that board conversation, and what's the answer that you would give today?
It's a good question. I'm trying to think like back. I don't exactly remember what I was thinking then, but I could have said then, oh, the market was changing on us, or people don't understand the value. And it's like, you're blaming, the price protection mark, like the customer didn't understand the value we're creating, or like, those are the reasons I would give you then. If you ask me today, what were the reasons, is we did pivot fast enough, like when the market was changing. So it's not the market changing was the reason we shut down, is we did pivot fast enough and realize like, we weren't aggressive enough realizing the market was changing and made a quick enough shift or pivot. Generally speaking, we weren't fast enough. I think like I thought at the time, oh, we were super fast, we were moving quickly, like things like that as a company, as a business, as a team. And like, after you go and see other companies, other organizations, like high performing teams, you're like, holy shit, what I thought was fast was not fast. And like, I think like speed and execution was not where it needed to be.
What do you think it brought, like, why when you had that board discussion, were you so unprepared for that discussion? Like, in other words, like, why did you're coming to this board meeting and they're like, we're going to talk about shutdown, and you're coming in talking like, let's talk about how we're going to grow for the next 12 to 18 months. And here's our plan. Huge divergence. Yeah. Why did that occur?
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, by the way. The reason it occurred is because founders and entrepreneurs are trained in the mindset to like never give up. Like that's the mindset you have to be. You're going to be like punched every single day, and you're going to be like thrown down and punched and knocked down, and like, by a team member leaving, by a partnership that falls through, by, a new rule that comes out that's GDPR compliance, or like, it's endless, right? You're punched endlessly. And as a founder and entrepreneur, you are like, you can't give up. It's just not an option. Like, I always give this example, like when we eventually had the three of us as founders discussion, like, oh shit, should we like maybe consider shutting down kind of thing, when it kind of dawned on us from the board, like the S word, shut down, like we called it the S word, right? Like no one wanted to even say it. Like we were embarrassed. Like, who's going to say it first? Would Oded, my co-founder, say it, or Elon, or who's going to be the one that's going to throw out that like verb or that, that word out there. So that's why I think like as a founder, you don't think about it, you don't bring it up.
It's basically because you're so all in that you're unwilling to think about failure. Like failure is not an option, so it's not even on your radar.
Yes, and I think that's healthy and okay. I think there's a delicate balance between understanding your business and your financials, right? Because there's a decision of like, by the way, you can decide to give up or shut down even when you have $1 million in the bank. It is totally okay. It is the responsible thing. But the decision to shut down, like what I'm trying to say is like, that is a decision in itself. And unrelated, as a founder, I'm not discrediting that you need to understand your financials and the health of the business, and you can't be like in negative or you can't make payroll next week. So like, don't get me where like I'm recommending that as founders, we should drive the company to the ground and like get to negative and go into bankruptcy and owe money to employees and things like that. But I am saying like philosophical perspective, we are trained and should be trained to like never give up at all costs. Yes.